Tensions between the United States and Iran have been escalating for months, and the latest development, the deployment of a U.S. aircraft carrier to the Persian Gulf, has pushed these tensions to a boiling point. This move isn't just about military strategy or positioning ships in the region. It's a clear signal that the United States is prepared to take action if necessary, and it highlights the serious stakes involved in this ongoing geopolitical crisis. The USS Abraham Lincoln CVN-72, one of the U.S. Navy's Nimitz-class supercarriers, has been dispatched to the region, joined by additional naval support vessels and fighter jets. The arrival of this carrier strike group represents a significant military maneuver, and in the context of growing hostilities with Iran, it has raised the level of alert for both military personnel and global powers alike. So, what's really at stake with this deployment, and why is it so critical to understanding the situation between the U.S. and Iran? The context behind the carrier deployment, the USS Abraham Lincoln, is not just any warship. It's a nuclear-powered supercarrier, capable of carrying over 70 aircraft and providing air support for large-scale military operations anywhere in the world. The presence of this aircraft carrier and its associated strike group sends a strong message to Iran and the world that the U.S. is ready to project power, defend its interests, and ensure global security. This deployment comes amid heightened tensions following years of sabotage attacks on commercial shipping vessels in the Strait of Hormuz, and Iran's continued missile development programs, including ballistic missile tests that violate United Nations Security Council resolutions. The U.S. military has been on alert for months, and Iran's recent actions have only exacerbated the situation. Iran's military exercises, threats against U.S. interests in the region, and its growing involvement in proxy conflicts across the Middle East have made it clear that a full-scale confrontation is possible. While the deployment of an aircraft carrier is standard procedure for the U.S. military, the timing is critical. In early 2026, the U.S. Navy launched Operation Sentinel to bolster its presence in the region, especially after intelligence indicated that Iranian-backed forces were preparing for more attacks on commercial shipping lanes. The decision to send the USS Abraham Lincoln serves as both a deterrent and a military presence to help safeguard global shipping routes and secure regional stability. The Strait of Hormuz, which lies between Iran and Oman, is one of the most strategically significant waterways in the world. Over a quarter of the world's oil supply passes through this narrow passage, making it a vital trade route for the global economy. Any disruption to the flow of oil through this choke point would have profound implications for energy prices and global trade. And Iran has repeatedly threatened to block or seize control of the Strait of Hormuz to pressure the West. The nuclear threat and military deterrence. Iran's nuclear ambitions have been a major concern for the United States and its allies. While Tehran insists that its nuclear program is peaceful, the U.S. government and many of its European partners believe that Iran is working toward the capability to produce nuclear weapons. The potential for Iran to become a nuclear power would fundamentally alter the balance of power in the Middle East and present a direct challenge to U.S. interests and the security of its allies, particularly Israel. The U.S. Navy's aircraft carriers are equipped with advanced radar systems, missile defense capabilities, and fighter jets that can launch precision strikes, making them an essential tool in countering nuclear proliferation and preventing Iran from further developing weapons that could destabilize the region. The USS Abraham Lincoln's deployment is a part of the broader American strategy of deterrence, signaling that the U.S. military is ready to take decisive action if Iran crosses certain red lines. At the same time, the U.S. is also engaged in diplomatic efforts to bring Iran back to the negotiating table, especially after the 2015 Iran nuclear deal, Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, or JCPOA, collapsed. The U.S. has signaled that if Iran comes back into compliance with the terms of the deal, sanctions could be lifted and tensions could ease. However, Iran's continued missile tests, support of proxies in Syria, Iraq, and Yemen, and threats to U.S. military personnel complicate these diplomatic efforts. Potential for military escalation. The presence of U.S. carriers in the region is not just about deterrence, it's also about preparedness. The U.S. Navy is preparing for all possible contingencies, including the possibility of military escalation. This could include an Iranian missile attack on American interests, attacks on military bases in the region, or Iranian-backed militia forces striking at U.S. assets in the Middle East. The USS Abraham Lincoln and other aircraft carriers in the region are equipped with missile defense systems and the ability to launch preemptive strikes should the situation escalate. Iran has shown it is willing to engage in asymmetric warfare using proxy forces, ballistic missiles, and drone swarms to challenge American and allied forces. The U.S. Navy's ability to defend against these threats, particularly through its advanced radar systems, electronic warfare capabilities, and anti-missile systems, is essential for maintaining stability in the region. The USS Abraham Lincoln, with its ability to launch fighter jets and strike aircraft, also gives the U.S. a highly effective platform for neutralizing any threats from Iranian forces. The growing risk of direct military confrontation has made the deployment of aircraft carriers a key part of the U.S. strategy. Carriers are vital for force projection and rapid response, whether in defending allies, enforcing sanctions, or launching airstrikes. The aircraft carrier remains a symbol of American military power, and its presence in the region is a clear indication that the U.S. will not allow Iran to disrupt global shipping lanes, continue its missile programs, or destabilize the region further. The consequences of a military conflict between the U.S. and Iran extend far beyond the Middle East. As a major oil-producing region, any disruption in the Persian Gulf would have a massive ripple effect on global energy prices. Oil prices would likely soar, leading to economic instability worldwide. Moreover, the conflict would strain global trade routes and have diplomatic repercussions for countries closely aligned with the U.S. and Iran, including those in Europe, the Middle East, and Asia. If the U.S. Navy is forced to take military action, it could set off a wider regional conflict involving other actors like Saudi Arabia, Israel, Russia, and China, each of whom has vested interests in the outcome of this crisis. Moreover, the fallout from such an escalation could lead to long-lasting consequences for global security and diplomacy, with the potential to shift alliances and reshape the balance of power in the Middle East and beyond. Conclusion: the arrival of a U.S. aircraft carrier near Iran marks a critical point in a high-stakes game of military deterrence, geopolitical influence, and diplomatic negotiation. While the deployment serves as a visible symbol of U.S. readiness and military strength, it also highlights the risk of miscalculation in a region where tensions can quickly spiral out of control. As the U.S. seeks to balance its strategic interests with diplomatic efforts, the presence of the USS Abraham Lincoln and other naval assets serves as both a deterrent and a reminder that despite the complexities of modern diplomacy, the U.S. military remains prepared for action if necessary. The unfolding situation has significant implications for the U.S. Navy, global energy markets, and international stability. As tensions continue to rise, the world watches to see whether diplomacy or military action will ultimately determine the outcome of this critical conflict. The stakes could not be higher.